Mm.
Not if it's, I know what it means, like. Why do you do this?
Started our next
But
session.
like.
Maybe you should do the top steps.
You did.
We're ready to get started with our next section, and we're so excited today to have Diane here with us. Diane Rodriguez is the Assistant Director of the San Francisco Law Library. She served as President of the AALL in 2021-2022, and is NOCAL President 2009-2010. She is currently a member of the Council of California County Law Libraries and ALA. She is active on advisory councils to IFCA, SNR, IMLS grant projects, focused on expanding awareness to library services to the incarcerated, including legal information, resources, and services. She is passionate about promoting access to justice and has participated in numerous programs and webinars to expand awareness of legal information access and promote law libraries to underrepresented communities across the country. Aaron Parsons is a reference librarian and coordinates speaker programs at the San Francisco Law Library. He has served on AALL AMPC, including as a team leader for the 2024 annual meeting. He has a BA in English from UC Santa Barbara and is a member of the California Bar. He also taught English in Japan and South Korea. Welcome.
Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to be here and to be able to participate in this program. It's really fun to follow up with all the programs that have come before, because we really dovetail into that last program with the justices. That was a real treat. Thank you for that. So we're here to talk about AI in the public law library slice of the pie. As you saw, I'm Diane Rodriguez. This is Aaron Parsons. Aaron's been with our law library for 26 plus years. I've been there for 10 years, but a long time ago, I was there for 5 years as a reference librarian. So Aaron and I have known each other and worked together for a really long time. Try to get this to work. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. There we go. Okay. So a little bit about the San Francisco Law Library. So the San Francisco Law Library was founded in 1870. We're 155 this year. We're one of the oldest, we are the oldest California County Law Library in the state. We're the model for which all other California County Law Libraries were pulled out. And so who do we serve? We serve everyone. We're the public law library. We serve the judiciary, attorneys, law firms, students, the public, anyone who walks through our door and has a legal question. This is our mission statement on the slide. And I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So as legal information professionals, we and our board of trustees think it's really important that we work with AI in our work. They want us to leverage that and be able to bring it to the community as a resource tool. And as a government agency, we must comply with certain rules and guidelines. So what does that look like for us? So as a quasi-agency in the city and county of San Francisco. On your handout, there's a link to this. We have to comply with the San Francisco's generative AI guidelines. This is an 8-page document which outlines what the different considerations that we should have. But most importantly, it highlights the top 3 guidelines for using generative AI responsibly. And the first one is always fact check AI generated content before using it. Always disclose usage of generative AI in your output. And never enter sensitive data into public generative AI models. In December of 2024, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors passed the AI Transparency Ordinance, which is Chapter 22J of the San Francisco Administrative Code. And that requires the City Department of Technology to inventory all AI technologies in use by any department in the City and County of San Francisco by mid-year 2025. They want to ensure ethical and transparent use across all departments. And they want to ongoing report of all new AI tools by any department. They're really trying to keep an inventory and close tabs on what everybody's using and how. So in addition to that, we have library guidelines. So in our public library, we allow our team to use and explore any AI tools that are available to them. We don't put any limitations on that, but we also make sure that if we're going to hand somebody some results or share them in any way, that we give them a disclaimer that AI was used and that things need to be checked. The City and County of San Francisco has offered all staff a free ChatGPT enterprise account. And so we've been using that for months. And so with the enterprise account, all of the work product of all of us is kept inside, but it reaches out to find everything outside. We found this to be really wonderful. Just as it's important to the city that employees keep up with the latest developments, it's important to us too. But the downside of all this is that it costs a lot, as the judges were speaking on. The city is facing a huge budget deficit this year. So how is that going to look for all departments and our appropriations? That's yet to be ironed out. So how do we work with vendors on this? We have to find out who's going to make AI tools available to public law libraries, and especially patron access. Not everyone does. But we try everything that we can get our hands on for our in-house staff. And some publishers are really excited to work with us on that, and others are not. Aaron facilitates a lot of AI programming. We have a free lunchtime speaker program, and he invites our vendors to give demonstrations and legal research teaching programs on all the AI tools. And for our staff, we utilize a lot of different training things. The city offers a lot of robust programs to our team. We work with the legal publishers for in-house training on AI tools. All of our professional staff are members of AALL and take advantage of those programs. And we've taken some ALA courses together on prompt engineering. And Aaron is enrolled in the UC Berkeley Law Executive Education Platform to learn more about AI in the law. And when we do work with it, what does it look like? Aaron, what type of patrons what type of patrons are you working with using AI tools?
So as a background for our discussion of AI, say about half of our patrons are attorneys, and that's a little easier. But the more difficult part is the non-attorneys, and especially the self-represented litigants, as has been pointed out in some of our last programs. They can really seem a little over their head and just overwhelmed when they come into the library. And some of this sounds obvious, but just to lay a picture, they lack a legal background, computer skills, and the mindset to use the library when they first come in. They just want an answer to their quick question. They have assumptions about who we are, what we can do to help them, and what they'll need to do. Sometimes it is less complicated. They'll come from a self-help center and they'll have a form, or we can help them find something that's pretty straightforward on a self-help website. But so often it's much more complicated. And the thing that they say so many times is, I just want to find cases like mine. And they don't know to ask about a secondary source like a rudder guide. And many concepts that they can use to work with and learning about case analysis. So there can also be communication difficulty when they first come in. And this can be for various reasons. Maybe they have a complicated situation, or the information is just an information gap in the ability to describe. So when patrons first come in, the first thing I'll try to do is try to help adjust their mindset so that they can effectively use our library. And usually I'll try to help them find some resources, try to talk to a lawyer or get some self-help center. But I'll also help teach them the resources that we have, including self-help, NOLO, practice guides, and the basics of using these. So once I get them started, I'll look at our traditional resources, Westlaw, and now I'll use AI to help me. But to go directly to AI with a patron at this point, and as has been pointed out in some past programs today, it may just confuse them and help facilitate an unhelpful focus. It can be hard to appreciate the output from AI on the one hand, and the value of learning from traditional resources on the other hand. And this more impressive AI thing may be a barrier for them learning about the law and trying to help themselves with their problem. And as Rebecca and Christy pointed out, there may be a need to help struggle with these concepts a little bit. It's not like they're trying to become an attorney, but they may need to go in court and talk about what they're learning. So even with something like a disclaimer, still have to be careful, because so many patrons will come in and we can give so much to a non-attorney just without AI. And at some point, are we just piling on, and are we overwhelming them further? And they'll be tempted maybe with AI to go with this easier thing that they see. And pro se will already just say, oh, I like this chapter you showed me in this great form. And they're not really thinking about it. They'll just go with this. And they're not thinking about it. And this is despite me discouraging them. And so AI can just be another attractive, dangerous shortcut. And this can be really hard to unwind.
So Erin, given those challenges, how are you working with our patrons with AI tools?
So we have Westlaw AI, legal research capability for staff, which we use to help patrons, attorneys, and firms. And we also have Bloomberg Law on one of our public computers, and has an AI capability. It's very new, but it's great to have it on a public computer. And we also use free ChatGPT in the trial that Diane mentioned, and Copilot, Perplexity, and I try to explore other tools, including ones I learned about today. And so before we get into how we use AI, we just wanted to mention the survey that we conducted.
So in preparation for this discussion, we created a small survey, and the questions are here on the slide deck. What we sent the survey out to all of our colleagues in AALL, government law librarians, special interest section, the AI caucus, the CCCLL, which is the California Council of County Law Librarians, to see what their use of AI is in the public sector, because we're not exactly sure about that. Erin, do you want to discuss that?
There were 16 responses, and for the first question, 6 libraries use it, 8 no, and 4 were somewhere in the middle. And then for question number 2, of those who do use it, 4 of those who do use it to some extent for both public and staff. And then the tools were some combination of Westlaw's AI, Bloomberg AI, Lexis Plus AI, Copilot, and some internal IT developed tools and general purpose tools. And then most who made the models available had or were in the stage of putting together some kind of policy. And one library had an orientation for the public. And then the last question was that we just asked for any additional thought they had about AI's current or future use in a public law library setting, and some of the responses.
So here's a sampling of the no's. Very interesting. A few were against non-attorney public use of generative AI because the AI results require more legal knowledge, as people were discussing earlier today. You know, if you have a senior attorney that knows the law and then they're going to be able to pick it out right away versus someone who's really just getting an introduction to the law, you can't expect them to recognize that they're getting good results. Another one worries that self-represented litigants get a false sense of hope and confidence when they think they've found that perfect case. But then when they're looking at it, many will probably waste a lot of time building an argument using that case with little chance of succeeding if it isn't in fact the correct case. So sometimes cited law may not be accurate or even real, and that's a real barrier. And to this point, one of our respondents discussed the Bob Ambrogi recent Smackdown article, which has been discussed earlier today too, where a group of SCAL librarians at their recent conference discussed, you know, trying different, the same question in different models and how they got sometimes very different results. So the survey really enlightened us that most of our colleagues, legal professionals, they're hesitant to implement AI in the law library because of the dynamic legal research needs around it. So one court respondent said that judges are very concerned about AI potentially interpreting the law for them. And we heard that earlier from the last program, but they will likely adopt user-controlled co-counsel in the next year so that they can keep up, as with firms, courts want to be on, you know, in line with everyone else. And another person replied that no, they know they're behind the curve on this right now. But on a lighter note, Aaron, do you want to talk about the respondents who do use AI?
So the ones who do use it with staff, only for staff, they have the same pro se concerns. And so reading from some responses, the initial expectation is that it would be transformative and that it would eliminate or otherwise irreversibly change how legal research is done. However, we're beginning to see that it's instead argumentative. It's easy to generate entire novels of replies to legal questions. However, that's just creating work for a responsible researcher to check. If generative AI was promised as a sheet of fresh baked cookies, all we actually got was a different stand mixer. And of those who use it for both public and staff, again, they had concerns about oversight for non-attorneys. Another respondent has concerns about the environmental impacts, as well as reliability, security, and privacy. Another who uses it for both replied that they use AI only by force. I think supporting AI in law is not a good idea. Attorneys are supposed to think for themselves.
So the survey really shows a mixed bag, and it seems to highlight public librarians' discomfort in adopting these tools. And along with limited vendor access, it is a barrier to public access. Slide. So how is the San Francisco Law Library using AI tools to enhance our work? So I'm going to speak from the administrative perspective. We're using it to enhance all kinds of internal documents. We're enhancing our standardized letters, our promotional materials, our educational handouts and outreach materials, by enhancing the language, changing things to different reading levels, sometimes changing the language of those documents. We're asking for a more modern language tone in some of the things that we've been using for years. And also just asking it, how do we reach a particular age group or community that we haven't been able to tap into? It's really been helpful and enlightening to use it in that way. Erin, can you discuss some of your work with the reference team?
So I generally agree with the caution from the surveys, especially with non-attorneys. But I have more optimism because I feel it helps me in my job. But going back to 2023, using the general models, it would give many code that don't exist, or answers would be too general. Answer the question it felt like answering, but I still got in the habit of trying to use it at least a little every day because we're encouraged to do that. And then since late 2023, we've had Westlaw AI. And I find it usually gives helpful answers with cases that I can verify. But now we have secondary materials with the Westlaw, including Rudder and Practical Law. I also use Perplexity a lot as sort of an enhanced Google, and it usually links to a source. And with just an email, you can perform 5 free deep search queries per day, including using DeepSeek. But still there were cautions with all of these. When I was researching for this talk, a general model made up a 40-hour credential program that was at a California County Law Library. And I thought that was great, but I couldn't get it to tell me which library or give me like the website. And I finally got it to admit that it just made it up and it was sorry. And in some ways I try to improve at prompting and generative AI is that I'm enrolled in a class through Berkeley Law's executive education program. And I try to share what I learned with my colleagues. And by practicing ideas I learned from auditing free courses on Coursera and a lot of other resources.
Thanks, Erin. Can you talk about how you work with our attorneys?
Attorneys and firms ask about what legal research AI tools we have, and we perform searches and give them the results, usually to complement a standard Westlaw search. And this is happening more and more regularly. And again, we have Bloomberg's AI on one of our public computers now. And so an attorney asked for Westlaw AI after they did extensive research, and they just wanted AI to help validate their results and see they didn't, well, not validate, but verify they didn't miss anything. Another attorney complained that we didn't offer Westlaw AI on our public computers. But when I mentioned it to another attorney recently, she just rolled her eyes. And the fallout of some of the AI is that attorneys have been asking for cases that don't exist, but most attorneys seem to appreciate it.
So most attorneys that come in do appreciate the little AI tools that we're able to offer them directly and indirectly through the reference team. One of our reference librarians, Andrea Woods, and I had a conversation. She was pointing out another Bob Ambrogi article where he's reviewing the 2024 edition of the recent ABA Legal Technology Survey. And in that, the survey showed that legal practitioners of all types believe that AI will become mainstream in the next 3 years, which I believe that we've talked about this morning as well. But it shows that solo practitioners in general, have very little access to AI tools and applications. The survey shows that approximately 30% of law firms of 100 and over attorney members have access to these tools, while as little as 6 to 4% of solo practitioners have access. So the justice gap is already big enough, as the justices were discussing today, and limited access to these AI tools is really a barrier to legal services and solo practitioners in general who are providing counsel to those who can't afford legal services. So the justice gap is just going to keep growing if we can't find a way to make these tools accessible to the solo practitioners, the legal services, and our low-income patrons and clients in the library. Erin, can you talk about non-attorneys?
So in helping non-attorneys, the least chance of harm is to start someone with a traditional resource and then I'll go see what I can find with those, or now I'll try to use AI. And the benefits of AI are that it helps save me time, helps me understand concepts, add context, become more focused on secondary source, or just learn. Or like, following from what Rebecca said, just ignore what it says and move on. Then I can give anything I find in the proper context, including secondary source, self-help resource. And if I can find a case or a code, then I can check it with Westlaw, just traditional Westlaw for accuracy, and then maybe try to use Keysight or Shepherds to help me actually find another secondary option. And now with Westlaw having AI, that's or secondary sources on Westlaw, this is another option. And when patrons ask about a topic and I don't find it quickly in an index or table of contents or Google, it can help me find something in court rules or code section faster or an online reference. So a few non-attorneys have asked about it. And actually one wanted to use our databases to check for hallucinations and what they found using ChatGPT, so that was great. And some paralegal students have also asked.
Aaron, do you want to give us some specific examples of cases?
So one patron wanted to sue a cruise line in California, and after showing them some traditional resources and getting them started, I went and mentioning they might try to talk to a lawyer. I went and tried an AI resource, and it actually gave me the ticket for that cruise line, and then the discussion of the law, and I thought it seemed pretty helpful. And then another patron wanted to file a second amended pleading, and so I got them started with resources, including a chapter on pleading in practice, and then maybe introducing them to Trellis. And then I had questions when looking at this myself, and about how the filings fit together with exhibits and other filings in this type of case. And so I asked back and forth questions, almost like Rebecca mentioned. And it just helped me see the big picture. And I thought it gave helpful answers. And this is one of the first examples of me going back to some of the general models where I was actually like surprised at, and I thought it gave a pretty good answer. And so AI also helps me with pro se guides from other counties. There's the great guides that Sacramento has. And I can, we're using something like litigation by the numbers, which is key to Los Angeles, and has a lot of like kind of very simple ways of showing you how to fill out forms. And so I can take what I get from one of those resources and try to enter the local rule or a portion and help me find the San Francisco local rule, especially if I'm in a hurry, just to get the patron in that sort of section of the local rules. Or just get the patron more focused. Sometimes patrons will tell us what helped them, but what their papers look like and what they filed, and so, but we never really see that ourselves and how it all comes together. So looking at court filings, especially with something like Trellis, just can help me understand the process, everything better, while assisting a patron, and the ability to ask questions to AI about this, along with a practice guide or something like that. It just helps me see the big picture and practice using all of these, including our standard resources, in an engaging way to help me try to improve. And again, if it's off base, I just move on. And for more complex legal issues, the models are often not helpful, and this can just be because of a difficulty communicating with the patron. And then I'm entering some question maybe I don't fully understand into the AI, which is probably giving a non-helpful answer. So then it can just be good to recommend they try to talk to a lawyer and help them focus on general legal research resources and process to help them use our law library.
So we're still testing the waters. We're using what we can. We're using behind the scenes. We're guiding our patrons through it indirectly with their brokers and trying to get them on Bloomberg and things directly because that's what the publishers will allow. But in looking at all this and shifting our thoughts towards the future, we thought we'd just wrap this up with a lightning round of things that we wish for. So, I'm going to start. I wish that we had affordable options for staff and patrons.
I'd like to see creative solutions around offering legal AI options directly to patrons.
I wish publishers would understand that access to AI is access to justice, and the public, solo practitioners, and legal services are just as important as the private sector, and now an even bigger part of our legal community.
So from some of the last programs and especially the last one, there are so many ideas, including on Stanford's AI and Access to Justice website. And I would like to see how we can learn from this and other similar organizations to help our patrons.
And my last wish for today, and I've said this before about other things, but I wish that publishers would consider providing AI tools to public law libraries as an access to justice measure, just as real estate developers are forced to provide a percentage of low-income housing to when building developments to provide equity in housing, there should be equity in access to justice. So that's what we got.
I have a wildly unserious question.
Sure.
How is the sovereign citizen movement in adoption of AI? Are they wildly untrustworthy of it, or are they wholeheartedly gung-ho for it, or neither?
Well, that is a really big aspect of what we have to deal with in the library.
Yeah.
But so we will get that type of question. Fortunately, it doesn't really come up in the AI context, although I'll tell you, the first person who I ever really saw, they were using Copilot, and this was right when AI first started, and they were like, I was like, wow, this guy is really like, I gotta start trying to use this if he's getting all this. And then I was checking what he was asking me about, and I thought he was a lawyer, but then I later realized like he had no idea what he's talking about.
Mostly, I think it's in print and we still have to keep those specific resources behind the reference desk. So they don't walk out, but I'm sure we're just around the corner. Any other questions, David?
Given the fact that county law libraries are so different in California in terms of funding, how do you see some of these issues applying to the smaller county law libraries that don't have the resources you all have and some of the other county law libraries or public law libraries have?
That's a great question. And I think that as far as that goes, equity across all county law libraries is going to be addressed the same way that the print issue and Westlaw and Lexis in general are addressed, which is that we all coordinate together. Caroline will send people to us if they need access to certain things that she doesn't have. We'll send people to another county law library for access to something that they don't have. And the librarians all talk to each other. So we're helping each other and emailing, but as far as AI goes, it's going to be kind of tough. Like someone could send us a search string, just like one of our law firm patrons might, and we'll run it in our, AI tools for them and give them the information and that they can pass back with a disclaimer that this was generated, got to check everything. But we really try to help each other out as much as possible.
That's why.
Yeah. Anything else? Do you have any online questions or? No? Okay, we're good. Well, thank you so much for having us.
And in honor of Pi Day, we have
Yeah, some of the county law libraries.
Like birds and don't like it in the hives.
It is.
It
It is brutal.
Actually,
Actually.
this last Friday.
Working with the I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, where I'm like, because I'm checking in on work and she's like, it's DC, I'm like, he's sitting right next to me.